whichever quadrant you're in is determined by where your cash comes from.
These guys pay the highest in taxes. It's punishment for being the smartest guy.
The key here is that those on the right side of the cash flow quadrant have learned how to keep more of their money and make their money work for them. How many of us have heard of millionaires that never graduated college? Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, and so many more. Many of the rich even agree that school diminishes your ability to get rich. The advice of go to school and get a job is no longer the only path you can take to become successful, especially not in today's world. I'm your host, Alexandra Gonzalez-Ganoza, and this is where your financial freedom begins. In today's world, there are new rules of money. Think of all the changes that have happened in the world over the last 40 years. Now we see teenagers becoming business owners or investing in Bitcoin, AI, real estate, or going viral on YouTube and TikTok. How could anyone think that the way to get ahead today is by doing things the same way our parents did them? So clearly, the rules of money are changing. And I want to go into the 8 new rules that everybody needs to learn if they have any hope of thriving in today's world. Rule number 1 is money is knowledge. Today, you don't need money to make money. All you need is knowledge. For example, a lot of people believe investing is risky, when really it's the lack of financial education, experience, and bad financial advisors that's really risky. Rule number 2, learn how to use debt. In the last episode, I talked about how several experts say that it's smart to pay off your debts and stay out of debt. And to an extent, they're actually right. Some people don't have the financial education to know there is good debt and bad debt. And it's obviously smart to pay off bad debt or to not get into it to begin with. By the way, if you guys want to learn about good debt and how to use it, go check out the last episode we recorded, which is exactly where you're going to learn all the ins and outs of debt and how the rich use it to actually get richer, because all that's covered in there. Learn how to control your cash flow. That's rule number 3. When you use debt, your cash flows from you to other people. Today, a lot of people struggle financially because they have too much cash flowing out of their pockets and very little money flowing into their pockets. If you want financial security, you need to learn to have more cash flowing into your pockets. Rule number 4, prepare for bad times and you will only know good times. Many of you guys lived through the devastation of the 2008 financial crisis. So, what have you been doing differently since then to avoid being another statistic the next time this comes around? Rule number 5, it's called the need for speed. Money evolved from barter to digital money as the world's financial system picked up speed. Today, slow people are left behind. A well-positioned person can transact business 24/7 and anywhere around the world. Rather than making money by the month, people can make money by the second. Learning the language of money is rule number 6. We always talk about how important this is. It's just like when a student goes to medical school. He learns the language of money and is soon speaking of diastolic pressure versus systolic pressure. And I don't even know if I'm saying it right because it's obviously not my language. But by investing a little bit of time every day to learn the words of money, to learn about the financial statement, assets versus liabilities, and so on, you'll lessen your chances of being fooled by experts who advise you to save money or buy a house or get out of debt and invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of mutual funds. Rule number 7, life is a team sport. You need to choose your team carefully. Millions of people go through life repeating what they learned in school, which is taking the test of life on their own or not asking for help. Society as a whole has actually pushed this agenda of making us think we have to be Mr. and Miss Independent and not rely on anyone. And that's not the path to success or to happiness. The reason most people are at a disadvantage in life is because they go onto the financial playing field as individuals, not as a team. In this new age of money, I hope you start to build your team to help you navigate this world. One, because that's how you can reach success. And two, because that's where also true happiness is found when you're surrounded by others. And if you're watching this video, I hope you can consider me and this education and this channel as a part of your team. Lastly, rule number 8, learn how to print your own money. Since the government is basically printing more money, doesn't it just make sense to print your own money too, but legally? Of course. Doesn't printing your own money make more financial sense than working harder and paying higher percentages in taxes, or saving money in the bank and losing purchasing power to inflation and taxes, or risking your money for the long term in the stock market? I know you guys are thinking, okay, so how do I print my own money legally? That's through the financial term known as return on investment, or ROI. Learning these new rules of money will help you navigate a drastically different world. You simply can't achieve financial freedom the old way. In order to really understand the new rules of money, you need to understand that there are two categories of people in the world: those who see the world through the left side of Rich Dad's cash flow quadrant, and those who see it through the right side of the cash flow quadrant. We're going to pull up a picture for you guys here now. And so basically, the cash flow quadrant is divided into 4 types of people, each representing the 4 different ways to make money. And so now here's a clip of Robert explaining the difference between the two sides.
Many people say to me, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. They go here and they become the Lone Ranger. I'm the smartest, I'm the best. I don't ask for anybody for help. I'm the doctor, you're a nurse, I'm smarter than you. I'm the attorney, you're my paralegal, I'm smarter than you. And they have the Superman or the Lone Ranger attitude. And these guys, unfortunately, we'll be talking about possibly later on, these guys pay the highest in taxes. It's punishment for being the smartest guy. These guys here pay about 40% in taxes. These guys pay 20%, and these guys pay 0%. So when a young person like you was looking at this, when I was your age, I said, I don't want to get stuck here. I don't want my own business. Everybody wants to say, oh, I might be an entrepreneur and all that. You get screwed here. That's what S stands for. So you got to be able to either make it this way, or you got to go this way. But this is what school trains us for, to be an employee, do as you're told, don't make mistakes.
I basically reside with the message he spoke there, because I'm an S right now, and I'm, working my way through the I side with the investment I just have and becoming a big business owner. But to reiterate what Robert just explained, every person who generates income resides in at least one of the 4 quadrants, right? And whichever quadrant you're in is determined by where your cash comes from. As an employee, you exchange your time and your effort for income. If you're not working, you're not getting paid. Your security is 100% at the hands of your employer, no matter what you contribute. I mean, you can come up with $1 million idea or close the deal of the century. You're still an employee. You're still relying on your paycheck, and that amount doesn't change. If you're a self-employed Superman, or, I can do it all, like Robert was saying, you work for yourself, and you can eventually see a result of the time and effort that you put into your work, because it's your own little small business. But flexibility and freedom are still not necessarily attainable here. Whereas an employee, you have a job. As a self-employed person, you just simply own your job. As a business owner, on the right side of the quadrant, you have a business that generates passive income. You'll see a direct result of your time and effort, and your income doesn't rely on active work or you physically putting in the hours. Here, you have the ability to determine the fate of your future. You'll have people and a team working hard for you to generate an income. Finally, as an investor, which I think is the best quadrant, the only thing working is your money. You're on the beach, on a Europe trip or golf course, you get to enjoy that. To simply explain the difference, those who earn their money on the left side of the quadrant are people who trade their time for money, while those who earn their money on the right side of the quadrant invest their time in acquiring more assets that make them money even while they're sleeping. A lot of times you'll hear people on the left side of the quadrant use the words job security as their reason for not investing. But job security is a lie. In fact, if we've learned anything during the pandemic or the recession, it's that job security is most definitely a myth. And I know I've mentioned that to you guys in previous episodes also. So if we get rid of the old mentality of job security and we stop seeing owning a business and investing as something risky, the shift of crossing that line on the quadrant and becoming an entrepreneur gets a lot easier. The sad reality is that those who operate on the left side of the quadrant pay more in taxes and pay more in interest on their debt for liabilities the more they make. It's a vicious cycle that keeps them feeling poorer and poorer. And that's what at Rich Dad we call the rat race. So, what really makes you rich? Because how much money you make doesn't make you rich. Instead, it's how much money you keep that makes you rich. If you rewatch where we talked about the 8 new rules of money and where Robert's explaining the cash flow quadrant, you'll actually learn that business owners and investors pay the least in taxes. It can range from 0 to 20%. They know how to use debt to make money, and they know how to hedge against inflation through the assets they invest in. They don't save money because they know it loses value over time. Rather, they invest their money into things that increase in value over time. The key here is that those on the right side of the cash flow quadrant have learned how to keep more of their money and make their money work for them, where the left side of the quadrant just lets the government take an automatic portion of their money. Those that earn their money on the right side of the cash flow quadrant versus the left side have one key difference. It's their mindset. In the book, Why A Students Work for C Students, Robert talks about how every child has a genius in them. So think back on when you were younger and try to remember what made you light up. What's the one thing that lit up your life, that motivated you, that fed your dreams, and that challenged you? Because school might have killed that dream for you. The traditional school system doesn't recognize the different kinds of geniuses in children, especially if it doesn't fit their traditional molds of those who fall under a career to work a 9 to 5. It's because our educational system teaches one way of doing things, one mindset, and that's the left side of the cash flow quadrant. The problem with being taught to go to school and get a job is that we pursue a dream that isn't even ours to begin with, like becoming a doctor or lawyer or teacher and other jobs that fall under the E and the S side. We do them because we think that's, what we need to do to become successful and because they're admired by society. And then a lot of these people are trapped in the rat race because a high paying job also comes with a high payments on your student loan debts. So does this sound familiar to you? You go to college, you take on massive amounts of bad debt, and you get a high paying job to keep up with those payments. Then you buy a house to keep exchanging your time for money, to keep paying things off like your mortgage, your expenses, your kids, healthcare, etc., without finding more time to enjoy life because you signed up for something that doesn't even nourish your soul. But now you can find your way back by changing your mindset about life and money. If you love what you do, but you wish you could make more money, or if you find yourself dreading your weekdays and you want the weekend to arrive so you can finally take a break, or you want to do your own thing and constantly think about quitting, then start to nurture your mind with financial education so you can actually enjoy life and give your talents to the world. I know sometimes we feel burnt out or confused about the reality we chose and the reality we're living on a day-to-day basis, but we still have time and like the tools we need in order to change that lifestyle. And if you want to change your reality, you just need to change your mindset. And if you want to change your current financial situation and grow your wealth, you need to, one, maintain a long-term vision and plan. Write down your goals and make them extremely detailed. Create your vision board, whatever you need to do, and make sure that you have that front and center every day. Number two, you need to believe in delayed gratification, which I know can be extremely hard, especially nowadays where everything's instant. But finding the best people to do the best job, to build the best company takes time, or finding an investment that best suits you and having that knowledge and time to invest in that asset, that also takes time. So be patient. And number 3, learn to use the power of good debt. If you invest in cash flowing assets, this can actually accelerate your growth, your wealth dramatically. Guys, very simply put, the path to the right side of the cash flow quadrant starts with thinking in terms of acquiring assets that produce passive income rather than living in a pattern of paycheck to paycheck. Start small and have patience and watch as your wealth grows over time. Our mind is extremely powerful, and it's the one thing that stops us from taking that step into a completely different future and reality. Because just like Henry Ford once said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Business owners and investors aren't the smartest ones in the room, so don't let that stop you. Remember the first new rule of money? Money is knowledge. Now is your time to increase your financial IQ and start your path to the right side of the quadrant. It's easier now than it ever was before. All this knowledge is right at our fingertips. It's on YouTube, it's on TikToks, it's on Instagram. And you guys have to make sure to follow the right teachers that actually practice what they preach. Not so long ago, I went to the Limitless event, and that event was filled with real teachers, not only speaking, but the attendees also. Those were real teachers doing the real things, and these are the places that you can find real mentors. So make sure you're surrounded by people that are where you want to be and where you will someday achieve to be. Both sides are risky. So, what kind of risk do you choose? Because I would prefer the risk I'm in control of. And that brings us to the end of today's episode on the new rules of money. In today's ever changing world, we have the opportunity to redefine success on our own terms. Don't forget the importance of speed and adaptability in a fast paced digital age. By learning the language of money, building a strong team, and discovering how to print your own money through smart investments, you can truly reshape your financial future. Remember, success lies on the right side of the cash flow quadrant, where you can generate passive income and make your money work for you. But it all starts with a mindset shift and a commitment to lifelong learning. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone who's ready to unlock their financial potential. Stay financially empowered and keep pursuing your dreams.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.